Every day, amidst the hustle and bustle of life, a profound mystery unfolds within each of us. Have you ever felt a silent whisper, a gentle nudge guiding you, but you couldn't identify its origin? This whisper is your higher self, an elevated consciousness that stands firm and unwavering, observing and understanding with infinite depth of wisdom and truth. The higher self is not a separate entity, but an integral part of who we are, always present, patiently waiting for us to tune into its frequency. But even though our higher self radiates wisdom and truth, it often goes unnoticed amid the noise of our everyday thoughts. Connecting with this higher self is not just a philosophical quest. It is a journey to unlock our greatest potential. For when we learn to distinguish the noise of daily life from the resonant voice of our higher self, we embark on a transformative path of self-discovery and deep inner connection. But how can we speak to our higher self? What steps should we take to hear its wisdom clearly and align our lives with its guidance? The answers lie in understanding the importance of this connection and the practices that can lead us to it. So today, you will learn how to speak with your higher self, discovering the profound benefits that come with this communication and how it can elevate your existence to new levels of clarity, purpose, and fulfillment. But that's not all. You will discover how the connection with your higher self influences the power of manifestation and the co-creation of reality. First of all, it's essential to understand the two selves that coexist within us, the everyday self and the higher self. These two aspects of our consciousness play distinct but complementary roles in life's journey. The everyday self is the part of us immersed in daily tasks, responsibilities, and mundane worries. It is shaped by experiences, social interactions, and the demands of everyday life. This self is constantly involved in activities, from the simplest, such as taking care of the house, to the most complex, such as solving problems at work. It is practical, objective, and focused on what is necessary for survival and efficient functioning in the material world. On the other hand, the higher self represents an elevated consciousness, a part of us that observes, understands, and guides with wisdom and serenity. It is like an internal light that illuminates our path, offering a broader and deeper perspective on life. This higher self is in tune with universal truth, the essence of being, and the highest purposes of our existence. We can say that while the everyday self is concerned with the immediate, the higher self is concerned with the eternal. Although these two selves seem distinct, they are, in fact, different facets of a single entity. For example, think of an iceberg. The visible part above the water represents the everyday self, visible and present in daily actions. The much larger submerged part represents the higher self, which, although hidden, sustains and influences everything that happens on the surface. The interconnection between these two selves is fundamental. The higher self guides and inspires the everyday self, offering insights, intuitions, and a deeper understanding of situations. When we face challenges, it is the higher self that gives us the strength and wisdom to overcome them, even if the everyday self does not always perceive this direct influence. It's as if the higher self were the root of a tree, nourishing and supporting the trunk and leaves that make up the everyday self. This interconnection also reminds us that life is not just a series of daily activities, but a spiritual journey in search of self-knowledge and fulfillment. When we recognize and honor this duality, we begin to harmonize these two aspects of ourselves. Because when the everyday self and the higher self work together, we move with greater purpose and clarity, aligned with our true desires and aspirations. So, the secret to this harmony lies in learning to hear the gentle voice of the higher self amidst the noise of everyday life. This voice is like an invitation to a fuller life, where every action and decision is guided by deeper wisdom. This alignment not only improves our life experience, but also puts us in sync with the universal flow of wisdom and love. Every thought, every emotion, and every choice are opportunities to connect more deeply with this wise and serene part of ourselves. But even understanding this duality and its interconnection, how can we distinguish the voice of the higher self from the incessant noise of everyday thoughts? It is important to understand this distinction because it is essential for achieving a mind harmonized with the universe, a mind that can hear and follow the guidance of the higher self with clarity and confidence. Distinguishing and recognizing the voice of our higher self allows us to live more consciously and aligned, making decisions based on inner wisdom rather than automatic ego reactions. It's like adjusting a radio to tune in to a specific station, eliminating static to hear the music clearly. Regardless of the emotional or mental storms we may face, this inner voice remains firm, transmitting clarity and discernment. The wisdom of the higher self is not something acquired through books or external teachings. It is an innate knowledge, deeply rooted in our essence. It offers us a perspective that transcends mundane concerns, revealing deep truths about who we are and what our purpose is. This wisdom manifests in various ways, through sudden intuitions, feelings of peace in turbulent times, or a sudden understanding of a complex situation. But connecting with this source of light and wisdom is not a simple task because, as I mentioned, there is noise that sometimes torments us. The constant noise of everyday thoughts can easily obscure this light. Our minds are often filled with worries, fears, to-do lists, and incessant distractions. This constant flow of thoughts acts like dense clouds, blocking the clear and pure light of the higher self. The human mind has a natural tendency to engage in repetitive thought cycles, often based on worries about the past or anxiety about the future. This type of thinking not only drains our energy, but also creates a veil that makes it difficult to perceive the wisdom of the higher self. It is this mental noise, composed of worries, fears, judgments, and distractions, that creates a barrier preventing us from accessing the wisdom and guidance of the higher self. This noise, often fueled by the ego, keeps us trapped in thought cycles that lead to no real solutions, only increasing anxiety and confusion. Another common obstacle is excessive identification with the everyday self. When we see ourselves only as our tasks, responsibilities, and social roles, we lose sight of the depth of our true nature. This limited identification keeps us stuck in a superficial view of life, obscuring the connection with our higher essence. But how can we speak to our higher self? To start this process, it is essential to recognize the signs of mental noise. Repetitive thoughts, intense emotions, and a constant sense of urgency are indicators that we are trapped in the noise of the ego. So the first step is awareness, noticing when these thoughts arise and understanding that they are just noise, not an absolute truth. Meditation, for example, is a powerful practice for calming the cycle of thoughts and allowing the inner light to shine more brightly. When we sit in silence and observe our breathing, we begin to perceive the difference between mental noise and the serene voice of the higher self. You can start with just a few minutes daily, focusing on your breath or a simple mantra. The mind may wander, but by gently bringing your attention back to the focal point, you begin to train your ability to recognize and separate the noise from the clarity. Another effective practice is mindfulness, which involves being fully present in each moment. By practicing mindfulness, we become more aware of the thought patterns that make up the mental noise and can choose not to engage with them. Instead, we can redirect our attention to the present moment, where the voice of the higher self is clearer. It is a practice that teaches us to appreciate the simplicity of the now, without getting carried away by concerns of the past or future. Practicing active listening is also essential. This means being open and receptive to subtle signs and intuitions that arise from within. The voice of the higher self often manifests as a feeling of peace, a sudden clarity, or a strong intuition. So try to pay attention to these signs, even if they go against what the ego is saying. Over time, you will learn to trust these inner messages more. Establishing a daily ritual of connecting with the higher self is extremely powerful and transformative. It can be a moment of meditation, a walk in nature, or simply a time of silence where you intentionally connect with this higher part of yourself. These rituals help strengthen this connection and make it easier to distinguish the voice of the higher self from the noise. Over time, you begin to notice certain changes in your life. Decisions become easier, challenges are faced with a broader perspective, and your interactions become more authentic. Because the voice of the higher self guides you with wisdom that transcends rational understanding, leading you to live according to your highest purpose. In addition to these practices, it is important to develop an attitude of surrender and trust. When you learn to silence the mental noise and trust the light of the higher self, you open yourself to a more aligned and harmonious life. This light not only illuminates your path, but also connects you to a source of love and truth that transcends any challenge you may face. As we learn to distinguish the voice of our higher self from the incessant noise of the mind, the importance of living in the present moment becomes even more evident. The meaning of being present goes beyond the simple notion of attention. It's about a deep immersion in the here and now, where we free ourselves from the grip of the past and the anxieties of the future. When we are present, we experience life in its fullness, without the distortions imposed by worries and memories. In this state of presence, each moment becomes an opportunity to connect with our highest essence. The practice of being present helps us to create a mental space where the voice of the higher self can be heard without interference. Every sound, every movement, every fragrance is perceived clearly. In this way, by aligning ourselves with the present moment, our mind becomes fertile ground for the manifestation of inner wisdom. Being present does not just mean paying attention to what is happening around us, but also being aware of our thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations. This awareness allows us to observe without judgment, recognizing the transitory nature of everything we experience. Instead of identifying with fleeting thoughts and emotions, we can simply witness them, allowing the serenity of the higher self to shine through them. The practice of full presence can start with something simple, like focusing on the breath. By consciously breathing in and out, we bring our attention to the now. Each breath becomes a reminder of our existence in the present moment, and the mind begins to calm down, letting go of distractions. Another crucial aspect of being present is accepting the moment as it is. Often we struggle against reality, wishing things were different. This resistance creates tension and prevents us from fully connecting with the higher self. Acceptance does not mean resignation, but an openness to the present experience, recognizing that each moment, no matter how challenging, brings a lesson or an opportunity for growth. Although it can be difficult to see at the time, every pain, every loss, every failure brings with it a valuable lesson. These experiences make us look within, confront our shadows, and grow in ways that would not be possible otherwise. They teach us about our inner strength, our capacity for healing, and our potential for transformation. So, accepting reality in all its complexity and diversity is essential for aligning with our higher self and facilitating communication with this elevated part of ourselves. From a spiritual perspective, every experience we live, whether pleasant or challenging, contributes to our growth and evolution. Our spiritual journey is composed of a series of lessons that manifest through the circumstances and events of our daily lives. In simple terms, life is like a vast river, flowing incessantly. Sometimes the river is calm and serene, offering moments of peace and clarity. Other times, it is turbulent and full of obstacles, challenging our ability to navigate. In both scenarios, the river teaches us to flow with it, to adapt, and to grow. When we face difficult situations, our natural tendency is to resist, to fight against what is happening. This resistance creates tension and suffering, distancing us from our higher self. Instead of resisting, if we embrace the experience with acceptance, we create space for the wisdom of the higher self to guide us. It is in this surrender that we find the strength and resilience to overcome challenges. Accepting the current reality is like an act of trust in the wisdom of the universe and the journey of our soul. It is recognizing that we are exactly where we need to be, living the experiences essential for our spiritual growth. When we accept this, we align with the flow of life and open ourselves to the guidance and wisdom of our higher self. But besides acceptance, being fully present also helps us to develop a greater sensitivity to intuition, which is a subtle form of communication from the higher self. When we are present, we can perceive these intuitions as small insights or feelings that guide us. These intuitions are usually calm and clear, contrasting with the noisy and chaotic nature of the ego's thoughts. However, being present is a continuous practice that requires discipline and patience. It is not something that is achieved once and for all, but a state that we cultivate moment by moment. It is a constant invitation to return to the now, even when the mind tries to pull us away. When we see our lives from this perspective, we realize that nothing is random. Every experience, no matter how trivial or significant it may seem, has its place and purpose in the construction of our spiritual awareness. We could say that life is like looking at a mosaic. Up close, each piece may seem disjointed, meaningless, or even imperfect. But when you step back and look at the mosaic as a whole, you begin to see a pattern emerge. This pattern is our spiritual growth, shaped by every piece of experience we live. Every challenge we face strengthens us. Every joy we experience inspires us, and every sorrow we overcome fills us with compassion and understanding. To expand our spiritual awareness, it is essential to cultivate a practice of conscious observation and acceptance. This involves being fully present and attentive to our daily experiences, welcoming them with an open mind and a receptive heart. When we do this, we allow each moment to teach and transform us, deepening our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. The expansion of spiritual awareness also involves developing empathy and compassion. As we understand and accept our own experiences, we become more capable of understanding and accepting others. Empathy allows us to see the world through others' eyes, broadening our perspective and connecting us with shared humanity. And with the expansion of spiritual awareness, we begin to realize the crucial role of the higher self in co-creating reality. This alignment with the higher self enables us to manifest a more authentic and meaningful life. Co-creation is the process by which we shape our reality through our intentions, thoughts, and actions. When we are aligned with our higher self, this co-creation becomes more conscious and intentional. Our higher self, with its broad and deep vision, helps us see beyond the limitations of the ego and focus on our true desires and purposes. Without the guidance of the higher self, we may feel lost in manifestation, influenced by fears, doubts, and external expectations. But when we connect with our higher self, we find inspiration and clarity. Our intentions align with our highest essence, and our actions reflect this authenticity. This alignment is not just about creating a life we desire, but about living in a way that is in harmony with our deepest purpose. So, we can say that conscious co-creation begins with the clarity of intention. This clarity allows us to set intentions that are authentic and aligned with our true self. When our intentions emanate from our highest essence, they carry a powerful energy that attracts circumstances and opportunities resonating with this truth. Besides the clarity of intention, trust in the process of co-creation is fundamental. The higher self reminds us that we are co-creators with the universe and that our intentions are supported by a greater force. This trust allows us to let go of excessive control and let the natural flow of life guide us. It's like planting a seed. We trust that with proper care, it will grow and flourish in its own time. Conscious co-creation also involves the ability to adjust and recalibrate our intentions and actions as needed. Sometimes the path to manifesting our desires may not be linear. In these moments, the higher self helps us remain flexible and open to new possibilities, guiding us with wisdom at every step. This flexibility allows us to adapt to changes and continue co-creating with confidence and clarity. In the end, conscious co-creation reminds us of our intrinsic power as spiritual beings having a human experience. When we align with our higher self, we not only create a life that reflects our true desires, but also contribute to the harmony and well-being of the world around us. The wisdom of the higher self is always present, waiting to be heard. It is a calm and serene voice that offers clarity in times of confusion and courage in times of fear. But this connection is an ongoing process, which involves silencing external noise and trusting the wisdom within. So, remember, true power lies in aligning yourself with the wisdom of your higher self. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to like and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with others so they can benefit from this message. And don't forget to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, reflections, and experiences. Thanks again for watching and for joining me. Take care and see you soon.